The Vaxian Empire had conquered 47 star systems without losing a single ship. Their massive fleet of 9,900 warships moved through space like a dark cloud, blotting out stars as they traveled toward their next target, a small blue planet. Called Earth. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the flagship destroyer of worlds. The massive ship stretched for miles, armed with plasma cannons that could crack moons in half. Behind him, thousands of similar vessels formed perfect battle formations. Each ship carried enough firepower to level entire continents. "Sir, we approach the target system," reported his officer Tom. The Vaxians had studied human transmissions for decades. They knew about Earth's primitive weapons, their crude nuclear missiles, and their divided nations that fought among themselves. Vex smiled, showing sharp teeth. "A single day's work," he said. "Our scouts report they have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light travel. They still use chemical rockets to reach their own moon. The intelligence reports painted humans as weak creatures who lived short lives and possessed no special abilities. Their technology was thousands of years behind Vaxian standards. The Empire expected complete surrender within hours of arrival. As Earth grew larger on their screens, Vex opened communications to the entire fleet. "Warriors of the Empire," his voice boomed across 9,900 ships. "Today we claim our 48th victory. These humans will join our slave colonies or be eliminated. Prepare for planetary bombardment." The fleet entered Earth's solar system in a spectacular display of alien engineering. Ships the size of cities blocked out the sun as they moved into attack formation around the blue planet. On Earth, every government's radar systems screamed warnings as the impossible sight appeared in their skies. But something was different about this conquest. As the Vaxian fleet drew closer, strange energy readings began appearing on their sensors. The humans weren't running or hiding as expected. Instead, they seemed to be preparing. Asterisk, the human response surprised everyone. Within 6 hours of the fleet's arrival, every nation on Earth had ceased all conflicts and formed a unified planetary defense. President Miller spoke for all humanity in a broadcast that reached the Vaxian fleet. "We know why you're here. You've come to conquer us like you conquered the others. But Earth isn't like your other targets. We've been watching the galaxy for longer than you think." Vex laughed at the transmission. "Impossible. Our scouts observed their primitive technology just months ago. What the Vaxians didn't know was that humanity had been hiding their true capabilities for over a century. The nuclear weapons were real, but they were the least of Earth's defenses. Deep underground, in facilities built beneath every major city, humanity had developed technology that would shock the galaxy. The first hint came when human ships began rising from Earth's oceans. Not the crude chemical rockets the Vaxians expected, but sleek vessels that moved without visible propulsion. These ships didn't just fly. They danced through space with impossible agility. "Sir," reported Officer Kate from the sensor station, "those human ships, they're not using any technology we recognize. No plasma drives, no fusion engines. They're moving like they're defying physics itself." More surprises followed. When the Vaxian fleet fired their first warning shots, plasma bolts that could destroy mountains, the humans didn't try to dodge. They absorbed the energy somehow, and their ships grew brighter, faster, more dangerous. Captain Rock of the human ship Phoenix opened a channel to the Vaxian flagship. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "Commander Vex, isn't it? We need to talk. You see, you've made a mistake. Earth isn't defenseless. We're just very good at hiding." The human ships began demonstrating capabilities that broke every law of physics the Vaxians understood. They moved through solid matter, appeared in multiple locations simultaneously, and seemed to convert energy attacks into fuel for their own systems. Vex felt his first moment of doubt. This is impossible. Our intelligence was perfect. Humans are primitive. Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see, Rock replied. Did you really think a species could develop nuclear weapons and not figure out what comes next? We've had faster-than-light travel for 80 years. We've had energy manipulation for 60. We've been studying your empire since you conquered your first world. The truth hit the Vaxian commander like a physical blow. Earth hadn't been hiding from the galaxy. They'd been studying it, learning from every species the empire had conquered. Every Vaxian victory had taught humanity something new about galactic warfare. Asterisk. What happened next would be remembered as the greatest military disaster in galactic history. The humans hadn't just prepared defenses. They turned the entire solar system into a trap. The first sign of trouble came when Vaxian ships began losing power. Not from enemy fire, but from some invisible force that drained their energy reserves. Their mighty plasma cannons went silent. Their shields flickered and died, and their engines sputtered to a halt. Report! Vex shouted as his flagship's lights dimmed. Double quote, sir. Something is pulling energy directly from our ships, reported Tom, panic creeping into his voice. It's like the space around Earth is alive and feeding on our power. Humanity had discovered something the Vaxians never suspected: conscious energy manipulation. While other species built machines to generate and control energy, humans had learned to become conduits themselves. Every human on Earth was now channeling power from the alien fleet, turning their invasion force into a massive battery. The human ships moved through the disabled Vaxian fleet like sharks among helpless fish. But they weren't destroying ships, they were capturing them. Tractor beams of unknown design pulled Vaxian vessels toward Earth, where massive processing facilities rose from the planet's surface. They're taking our ships apart, whispered Officer. Data from a vessel being pulled toward Earth. But not randomly. They're studying every system, learning our technology in real time. Commander Vex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Humans boarded disabled ships not as conquerors, but as scientists. They examined every weapon, every computer system, every piece of Vaxian technology with the methodical precision of researchers. Captain Rock's voice came over the communications again. We appreciate the donation, Commander. Your empire has been using the same basic technology for thousands of years. Very reliable, but not very innovative. We'll put it to better use. The humans were doing something unprecedented in galactic warfare. They were learning and adapting in real time. Every Vaxian ship they captured made their own vessels stronger, faster, more deadly. It was like fighting an enemy that evolved during battle. Worse yet, the humans began demonstrating new abilities that seemed impossible. Some human soldiers walked through solid walls. Others moved faster than Vaxian eyes could follow. And a few seemed to manipulate matter with their thoughts alone. What are they? Vex gasped as he watched a human woman reshape the hull of a Vaxian cruiser with her bare hands. The answer came from an unexpected source. Human child's voice over the communications. We're what happens when a species doesn't give up. When they keep pushing, keep learning, keep evolving. You conquered worlds by being stronger. We got stronger by being conquered by our own planet first. The child was right. Earth itself had been humanity's first great enemy. Ice ages, natural disasters, diseases, predators, their own world had tried to kill them for millions of years. Every challenge had made them stronger, more adaptable, more resourceful. Now that strength was turned against the Vaxian Empire, with most of the Vaxian fleet disabled or captured, the few remaining ships tried to escape. But they quickly discovered that running from humans was even more terrifying than fighting them. The human ships moved through space in ways that defied understanding. They didn't just travel faster than light. They seemed to skip through dimensions, appearing wherever they wanted instantly. No matter how far the Vaxian ships ran, human vessels materialized around them like ghosts. Captain Sam led the pursuit. In his ship Hunter, unlike the massive Vaxian warships, human vessels were small, elegant, and impossibly fast. "Target acquired," he reported, as his ship appeared beside a fleeing Vaxian cruiser. 3 more refugees trying to reach the edge of the system. The Vaxians weren't used to being prey. For thousands of years, they had been the predators, the unstoppable force that crushed all resistance. Now they fled in panic as human ships hunted them through space with cold efficiency. "Please," begged Captain Zor from his damaged vessel. "We surrender. We'll leave your system and never return." "We know you will," replied Captain Sam. "But first, we need to send a message to your empire." The humans weren't killing their prisoners. They were doing something far more sophisticated. Using technology beyond Vaxian understanding, they were implanting memories directly into the minds of surviving crew members. Not false memories, but perfect recordings of what had happened during the battle. Asterisk. Every Vaxian survivor would return home carrying exact knowledge of humanity's capabilities. They would remember every impossible feat, every demonstration of power, every moment of their fleet's destruction. The memories couldn't be removed or altered. They were burned permanently into their minds. Meanwhile, human ships began following the fleeing Vaxians back toward their home territories. Not to attack, but to observe. Humanity wanted to know everything about the Empire that had dared to threaten Earth. The few Vaxian ships that escaped. The solar system found themselves shadowed by invisible human vessels. No matter where they went, no matter how they tried to hide, the humans were there, watching, learning, documenting everything about Vaxian space. "They're mapping our entire territory," reported Officer Ben from a scout ship that had spotted human surveillance vessels near the Empire's core worlds. "They know the location of every colony, every military base, every important installation." Back on Earth, human leaders gathered to discuss their next move. President Miller looked out at the captured Vaxian fleet, thousands of ships, now being converted to human use with improved technology. "We could destroy their empire in a week," said General Brown, studying tactical reports. "Their technology is centuries behind ours, and they have no defense against our abilities." "But that's not who we are," Miller replied. "We don't conquer. We defend. Let them go home and tell their empire what they found here. Let them spread the word that Earth is not to be touched." The human strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of crushing the Vaxian Empire, they would make it afraid. Every species in the galaxy would hear the story of the great fleet that came to conquer Earth and was destroyed by creatures who seemed more like gods than mortals. 18 battered Vaxian ships limped back to their home system after a journey that should have been a glorious conquest. Their crews were broken, traumatized, carrying memories that would haunt them forever. Commander Vex stood before the Empire's High Council, struggling to explain what had happened. The proud warrior who had commanded nearly 10,000 ships now looked like a broken old man. "We never had a chance," he said quietly. "They let us think we were the predators, but we were always the prey. Humans have been studying the galaxy for decades, learning from every species we conquered. They turned our own strength against us." The council found his report impossible to believe. How could a primitive species destroy the Empire's greatest fleet? But the evidence was undeniable. The memory implants the humans had given the survivors contained perfect recordings of the battle. The council watched in horrified silence as the memories played out. They saw human ships moving through space like living creatures, saw their people's mighty weapons absorbed and turned into energy for Earth's defenders, saw technology that seemed more like magic than science. "What do they want?" asked High Lord Kex, the Empire's supreme ruler. "Nothing," Vex replied. "That's what makes them so dangerous. They don't want to conquer us or enslave us. They just want to be left alone. But now they know everything about us, our technology, our weaknesses, our territory. They could destroy the Empire whenever they choose. The realization sent shockwaves through Vaxian space. For the first time in their history, the Empire faced an enemy they couldn't defeat, couldn't understand, and couldn't escape from. Humans weren't just stronger, they were incomprehensibly advanced. Word of the disaster spread quickly through the galaxy. Other species that had suffered under Vaxian rule heard the story with amazement and hope. The unstoppable Empire had been stopped by a species that most of the galaxy had never heard of. On Earth, life returned to normal with surprising speed. The captured Vaxian ships were studied, and their technology integrated into human systems. The weapons were dismantled, the useful components recycled, and the rest turned into materials for peaceful purposes. Captain Rock sat in his ship, monitoring the galaxy for any signs of new threats. The humans had learned something important from the Vaxian invasion. They were no longer safe hiding on their single world. It was time to join the galactic community, but on their own terms. Any word from the other empires? He asked his communications officer. Yes, sir. We're receiving diplomatic requests from 17 different species. Everyone wants to establish peaceful relations with Earth. Some are asking for protection from the Vaxians. Rock nodded. The galaxy was changing. For thousands of years, strong species had bullied weak ones. Conquest had been the norm, and peaceful civilizations had lived in fear. But now there was a new power one that didn't conquer but protected, didn't enslave but freed. The story of Earth's victory spread far beyond Vaxian space. In the distant corners of the galaxy, oppressed species heard whispers of the humans, who had turned predators into prey with nothing but intelligence and determination. Commander Vex spent his remaining years trying to warn the galaxy about humanity's power. But his warnings fell on deaf ears. Most species couldn't believe that such a young civilization could be so advanced that only the survivors of the great fleet truly understood what they had encountered. They knew that humanity wasn't just another species, they were evolution itself, the next step in the development of intelligent life. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, human ships continued their silent watch, ready to defend not just Earth, but any world that chose peace over conquest. The age of galactic bullies was ending. The humans had arrived. The end asterisk